Okay, so I'm going to cover the licensing rule R400-8173, and this rule covers the equipment that we can and can't have in our child care center. It has 11 different parts to it, and I'm only going to briefly cover each of them. So for the first part, it basically states that we can't use any form of materials or equipment that are identified by the CPSC, which is the Consumer Product Safety Commission, as being hazardous. And the list for all those hazardous items can be found on the last page at the MCCM, which is the Michigan Child Care Matters. The second thing is there's a current list of unsafe products that must be posted in our center, and that again is found on the last page of the MCCM. The third one is that products with any type of warning label of being toxic or keeping out of reach of children must not be used in our child care center. So that includes shaving cream because that is labeled toxic. However, there are exceptions to like soap for hand washing or hand sanitizer for like sanitizing. And then if the children brush their teeth, toothpaste obviously is another thing that is exempt. The fourth thing talks about the furniture, equipment, and materials, and what they should be, and they should be developmentally appropriate. They should be safe and clean. They need to be child-sized and easily accessible for the children. So obviously there shouldn't be any hazards as to if they're sturdy or not. If they're broken, they shouldn't be out for the children, and just along the lines of that. The fifth part is that there should be a minimum of 3 play spaces for each child times the number of children that the center is licensed to serve. So basically that means that the number of toys and equipment indoors is based on the number of kids that the center is licensed to have. The sixth part is there should be a minimum of 2 play spaces accessible per child in attendance. For child initiated time. So this basically is like spaces are defined as independent use approximately for 15 minutes is when that comes into play. The seventh part, the materials and equipment and areas need to be accessible on a daily basis. So they need to be accessible for like large and small muscle activity, sensory exploration, dramatic play and social interaction, discovery and exploration, early math and science experiences, and then creative experiences like music, art, literature, different things like that. And all those things need to be appropriate and safe. The eighth part talks about the current and accurate equipment inventory that should be provided to department before insurance of the original license and should be updated and available. And this needs to indicate the number of items, the meeting of requirements, and then it needs to be put in like a list. So like there are like say 15 cots or like 25 books, just kind of very specific that way. The ninth part is that the first aid kit needs to be accessible to all staff and securely stored. And in the first aid kit, it should include like gauze, bandages, cloth tape, tweezers, scissors. The main thing it cannot include is like any type of prescription. That should not be in a first aid kit. The 10th part is that there should be a rocking chair or comfy adult-sized seating provided for 50% of the child care staff. In the infant room, there needs to be like a rocking chair that you can conductively like rock and hold a baby. And then obviously in the other classroom for the school agers and like preschoolers, teachers should have at least, 1 or 2 adult-sized seating that is comfortable for them. And then the last part of this rule is that there is not allowed to be any trampolines or bounce houses used by the children in care at the center. And even if the parents give like permission, it is still not allowed to have those being used in our center. So basically, this rule means that for us teachers, we need to be aware and follow the rules and regulations for the equipment and just kind of know what we're allowed to like do and not do or what should be happening and stuff like that. And I feel like in both of our classrooms or in our classrooms, this rule is applied to both of them equally with the amount of room or space that we're provided. Obviously, the infant room has a little less space because we have to have that sleeping area for the infants with their cribs, but overall, I think it's fairly equal.